Howdy rail fans, welcome back. This is Trains with Shane, and you've joined us for another Will It Run episode. Now our guest here today is an N-scale Atlas Fairbanks Morse unit. This is an H15-44 in Kansas City Southern colors. This, if you can see it down here, is number 40. Kansas City Southern was one of the original buyers of the H15-44 way back in the day. They bought two of these, road numbers 40 and 41. I haven't done a lot of the research, so I don't know if either of these units still exist, but if I had to guess, I would say they had probably been scrapped since then. It doesn't really matter for the purposes of this episode. I purchased this unit almost a year ago. If you guys go all the way back to my old train show, I think it was October of 2022, my train show pickups video, I picked up this unit, a Broadway Limited E6, also in Kansas City Southern colors, a poster, I think, and a lock, an MKT lock box, or a box lock for a turnout switch. I can't remember which of those I bought in October or which I may have bought in January or February of this year. Either way, this unit came from a train show. This unit did come from the same place that I've bought most of the recent Kansas City Southern units that I have picked up from train shows over the last couple of years. This again was a widow liquidating her late husband's collection. This has been a seller that I've looked for every time that I go, and if they're there, I always try to pick something up, whether it's a locomotive or just a piece of rolling stock. So, this came without a box, unfortunately. I was told that it is DCC, and the price was pretty good. It's not perfect. As you can see, we've got a not too fantastic looking repair here on the front handrails. That can be tidied up. Almost looks like a booger, doesn't it? Very, very dusty front pilot. That's because I haven't touched this thing in almost a year. It's just been sitting on the shelf. We've got knuckle couplers here with trick pins. I am not sure if anything is supposed to go in this hole. These little side pieces are just barely held in there with friction. They come out really easy. So after we're done with this, I may end up gluing those. We've got our rear handrails, our Fairbanks Morse plate. So we've got our Kansas City Southern Lines logo there. Obviously, this is the Southern Bell scheme, which is very good looking. Separately applied handrail on the side there, on the close to the hood, if you guys can see that. Very cool. So yeah, not a lot to this. Pretty cool little unit. What do you say we get this onto a test track, find out what it does and what it does not do? I'll see you guys over there. Alright, we are set up here. We are just using a piece of Kato Unitrack on the disgusting workbench today. I didn't feel like setting up the Inglenook switching layout or any of the fancy DCC++ EX stuff just for testing these things out. Today, NCE Power Cab. So let's get our locomotive set up on here. You can tell how often I use this thing. I'm going to select, we're going to try 3 for openers. See if this is programmed with a short address on it. Where's our headlight button? There it is. Nothing on address 3. So we're going to try this again. I'm going to select 40 to see if we're set to the cab number. Just 40. Okay, where's our direction? Try our headlight. You guys can see that down there. Let me turn off this overhead light. Looks like we are on number 40. So our headlight function works. Obviously, this is DCC enabled then. Let's try dialing up a little bit of throttle. Nothing there. Let's see if we feel anything. I feel nothing. Several things could be wrong here. Could be our decoder needs a reset. It could be a problem with the drivetrain. Could be frozen due to debris or dried lubricants. It could be that the motor itself is fried. It could be that the decoder itself is partially bad. How are we going to test this? Well, probably the easiest way to test, since we're already on the test track, we know it's getting power because we saw the headlight operate properly. I'm going to first move this cable over here. I'm going to try a reset here real fast. If you guys watched the video on the Atlas CSX-GP40 that I did a month or 2 ago, we had to do a reset on that decoder before that locomotive would move. Thankfully, it was just a reset that was required for that. So we're going to first off start by eliminating that as a possibility here. So we're going to go through our settings here by hitting this button. We're going to use program track. Enter. I'm going to go to 1 for standard. Okay, read the manufacturer of the decoder, which is 127. You'll notice our headlights flashing down there. Decoder version 046. Activate short address. We're going to say yes because we're going to run this with its cab number, which is 40. Already set as 040. Enter that. Activate this address. Yes, we will. Set up long address. We'll set it anyway. 0040 so that it's consistent. We don't want to activate that. Set config. Let's say yes. Normal. I'm going to leave this. DCC mode, enter for no. Or DC mode rather, enter for no. Speed table, enter for standard. Address, enter for short, because we want to use the short. Set up motor control. We're going to hit enter instead of yes here. And we're going to also not worry about function mapping. We're not going to worry about any CV numbers. And that should be it. I should be able to escape here. All right. Select loco, 40, enter. Right. Over other end, yeah, we do have our light working on the other end. Okay, we're going to switch direction, dial up a little current here. Nothing. Change direction. No buzzing from the locomotive, indicating that it's trying to move, so we might be dealing with a physical problem here. So, our next steps from here, since we're we're confident that the decoder is detectable, it's getting power, we could program it, it recognizes fine. So we are going to look at possible physical issues with the motor. Probably is stuck, needs cleaning and lubrication. So let me get set up in the foam cradle here on the disgusting workbench, and I will bring you guys right back. All right, we are over on the foam cradle here. We're going to take this thing apart. As you can see, these little side skirts here, they just pull right out. They're held in by friction in these little pins. I've already taken one off. Now, with this being an Atlas, I should just be able to grab it by the fuel tank here and wiggle this thing out. They don't always come out so easily. May have to get in here with our fingernails and spread it apart a little bit and get the other fingers ready to catch it. Trying to be very careful, well, that's good, to not grab by the long hood here, because we've got these little fragile handrails on the side, so I'm going to try to grab above them. Here we go. Just be very careful when you're doing this, because while these coupler boxes are held on with screws, some units like Kato are held on with these little weird clips that like to go flying when you rip the running gear out of these things. Right, and there's our shell. Set that aside. Here is our workings here. Looks like we've got separate headlights, and maybe these lights on the sides, are those supposed to be classification lights? All right, here's our decoder, which we knew we had. We're getting power, so we know current pickup isn't an issue. Our motor spins freely, but not, I was going to say not very smoothly, but it is okay. Let's see if we can see our gears slowly turning there. And there. Not the cleanest wheels ever, and you can see our contact strips are kind of dirty. So what we will do first, let's see. This board does not look like it's designed to slide out without slightly splitting the frame. So we're going to slightly split the frame, trying not to break our little plastic light shields here. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can use some gentle persuasion to pull those off. So we don't damage them. Watch, next thing you know, I'll have this sucker broken into about 4 different pieces. Success. Didn't need the persuader. Wonder if we can do the same over here on this side. Just see if we can gently get it to pop off one way. Oh, but snap back in. There we go. These are different. I'm going to make a special note on video so I don't forget this later. The flatter of the two goes on the end of the unit with the notch on it, this notch. Alright, so just a matter of a couple of small Phillips heads. Don't have to take them off completely. Although depending on how many threads we've got here, they might come all the way out, because as you can see, we're already pretty deep in that nut. LOL. Remember, kids, any tool is a hammer, and most tools can be a pry bar. Just trying to loosen this up so we can wiggle this decoder out of here. We may have to back these screws out enough to where the nuts will fall right out. I don't like to do that, but it's really only a minor inconvenience. Oh, there's one of our trucks. I guess we'll probably get the other one out of this side. See some bit of a scongy mess there on the side of that truck. Let's investigate. This one appears to be cleaner. Rolls pretty smooth. This one seems to roll. Yeah, that's nothing that would stop us from a friction point of view. Ooh, I got the shmoo on me. Yeah, truck friction was not our problem here. These will definitely get a little tidy. Again, that wasn't our problem. I don't believe, because we were getting power. But let's see if we can just spread our frame. Looks like these want to come out. And here's our board. Don't see any discoloration on any components. It is possible that it wasn't making contact with our motor contacts. So we're going to set our board aside. Stand by. Okay, sorry about that. Had to use a little Google Voice because we broke out the electrodes. I may have to do this off camera slightly, but we're going to try to hit it right here and touch our contacts. Okay, you guys saw that? Oh, come on. Runs nice and smooth, no issues. Throttle back down on my test power supply back there. So, what does that mean? It means we could still have a bad decoder. We also may just need to reposition these strips. But maybe not. Let's see if we can coax this thing back together. I wish I had a light board from a non-DCC unit, and then we could just pop that thing in there and test it. Get you guys in frame so you can see what I'm doing. So this one obviously connects to this side over here. I don't know, guys. It's hard to tell. It's difficult to say. Let's see if we can get an alignment. It looks like they will connect up. As you can see, there's no discoloration or anything on that pad. So let's just try to go back in here in frame. This may be a tiny bit arduous of a task here. All right, get in there. As you can see, when trying to put this in here, that little tab wants to flip up and be on the top side, just due to spring tension. To make sure that that doesn't happen, so a little bit of persuasion there. Get back in there. We're going to slowly try to squeeze this thing back together. Making sure our tab is still underneath, and it is. There we go. Now, for DCC ready models where the decoder pushes in and then slides over so you could remove it without taking the unit partially apart like we've done here, it's not incredibly uncommon for the little contact pads to not be lined up with the contact strips on the motor. With this, you guys can see how the circuit board butts right up against the frame here, and again on this side there is no lateral movement forward or back in this decoder. It's where it is designed to be. So, though it's still potentially possible that we might have, and I can't see down in here, that we might not have good contact with our decoder board, it would be the strips on the motor that would be to blame for that, if it's not a bad decoder. Unfortunately, I don't have another one to test with that, so if none of this works, then, well, it don't work. Let us get our trucks put back in here. The worm gears and stuff look pretty good, and there's, other than that one piece of shmoo that was on the one side, this actually looked okay. Do they go this way? Or do they go this way? I want to say that they probably go this way. We're going to just gently push that in there, because we're not bolted together yet, so it's just an easy matter of letting it fall in. Right, since that's together, we're going to tighten our screws back up. Just to get them snug. Make sure our gaps are okay. We were lucky our captured nuts here stayed where they were. We didn't have to thread out enough for them to fall out. I am going to clean these contact strips up a tiny bit. I'm going to take our really fine grit sandpaper, and I'm going to do this on the edge of the workbench. Because I don't well, I'll be. Huh. Well, that sucks, guys. Just snapped in half. Look at there. You find the other piece. That just may have brought this project to a halt. Well, no, may have to it. It just brought this project to a halt. Yeah, here's the other part of it. And I wasn't even putting any pressure on it. As a matter of fact, why I wanted to do this off on the flat part of the bench, you know, kind of off the edge, was to have a flat, stable surface so this kind of thing wouldn't happen. Great, grand, wonderful. So, where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with a non-functioning locomotive in its broad strokes. Sigh. But let's see if we can still test it. Because we have our track here. Is it stupid if it works? So we're going to try to be very, very careful here, guys, to not try to cause a short here. I'm going to stick this down to the track and try to you guys got light. And what we didn't have was motor movement. You guys heard that noise. think we have a bad decoder. As much as I hate to admit it, I even tried, as you guys saw, flicking the motor with my fingers. It didn't do it. So, bad contact strip. That wasn't helping, but it was working when we started, so that wasn't the problem. It wasn't an electrical pickup issue because we had lights. Reset the decoder, still nothing. We know the motor works because we tested it on DC. So where does that leave us? Will it run? No. And I think, isn't this the first one in a while, guys, where it hasn't ran or won't run? I think even all of the DCC stuff that we've tried to resurrect has resurrected after varying degrees of fiddling with it. Can we make this run? Absolutely. We will need another contact strip, obviously. We can either get another decoder or try to find a light board for DC operation for this. I would probably prefer to stick with DCC on this. That just depends on what I'm able to find. I'm just putting this thing back together, guys, so don't worry about paying no attention to that man behind the curtain. Fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Here we go, getting there. Almost. Come on, get in there. Break out the persuader. Get back in camera frame here for openers. Back in frame. Oh no, truck gone. You know what, guys? I will probably just assemble this off camera. It is hard to keep it in frame here and try and futz around with these little flex our light board up a little bit. Oh, come on. Almost there. Thing is, these things have such a snug fit in here. It's hard to keep tension on them. Here, you just gotta hold your tongue just right. Let's try the other side here. Of course, since we've got impossibly thin plastic here, you don't want to mangle it by putting too much force against it. Oops, bumped the camera. Doesn't help that they use right angles here too, guys, instead of using something that, there we go, something that has a little arrowhead shape where it can just slip on and clip. All right, back together. Our fuel tank, that only goes on one way. We'll pull our fuel tank back off because we are idiots. By we, I mean me. Need to put our one good contact strip back in. I don't know if these are symmetrical, guys. I'm just going off of dead reckoning here. And they've got a little slot on the side. Does that mean I sit back down this way? So I can show you guys. See how it's kind of notched offset that way? Does that go to the inside or to the outside? Whereas watch trains now. Help me. This doesn't seem like it wants to sit in that way, so let's turn it. If you guys don't watch trains now, you really should. He does good work. He definitely has better paint skills than I do. All right, that's in there. Fuel tank on to help hold that in place. Our silly little truck decided to pop off. Put that back in. Make sure our shell goes back on. I'll put these on later, I think, because honestly, I'm sort of disheartened with our experience. So, this is one of the few will it runs that hasn't paid off. I want to say this thing only cost me 40 or 50 bucks though. So, in a world where a brand new one would cost 120 with onboard DCC without sound, not too bad. I'm gonna have to see what we can pick up these little pieces for. See if we can get a DC light board, or if we want to go DCC, do I want to go just a standard replacement DCC control only unit, or do we want to go for sound? There's not a ton of room in here to try to hide a speaker, so I'm leaning against Loc sound or something like that, just because this wouldn't be one of the units that I would invest to have Loc sound installed anyway. Oh, also here in the background, original Santa Fe Railway passenger cup, a gift from my girlfriend. Thank you, Jessica. So I'm going to call it here, guys. One of our first lacks of success in a long time. But it very easily could have worked. I don't think we did anything to screw that up. I just think that we were at the mercy of bad parts. So with that, guys, I want to thank you for watching this Will It Run video on Trains with Shane. I will see you on the next one. Booger.